Gentlemen, present the award to you for the second son. The Chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, Martin Nordenberg.
Your Excellency, your example has been an inspiration to people around the world. It is humbling to be here with you, and it is an honor for all of us through the presentation of the Jesse Owens Global Award to publicly commemorate your long walk and to thank you for all that you have done to elevate and improve the lives of countless others here in your home country and in more distant locations at every step along the way. We are deeply indebted.
Thank you very much. Sports is a very important thing. In this country, we have used the sport in order to effect a peaceful transformation. We have used sport in order to promote a nation building. That is the position not only in South Africa, where a national team is chosen to represent that country. The whole nation falls behind that team. So sport is very important because it can reach areas which have public figures like politicians and so on cannot reach. And therefore, we want the young people to embrace sport.
As Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa, said, sports has the power to transcend cultural and social barriers. It's a shared experience that brings together the peoples and nations of the world in a spirit of fair play and friendly competition. To a smaller extent, but equally as important, sports has served the same purpose here at the University of Pittsburgh, and along the way has produced many outstanding athletes. I'm Jack Whitaker, and I'm talking to you from the Peterson Event Center here on campus, the home of the Panthers men and women basketball teams, their Athletic Hall of Fame, and a marvelous center for student activities. Ironically, this building stands on the site of the old University of Pittsburgh football field, where two of the first African-American athletes began their storied careers. A seminal moment emerged in the history of the University of Pittsburgh, the formation at Pitt of an African-American presence, and a fortuitous omen, the graduation of two talented athlete scholars and teammates in the class of 1911, lead sprinter Henry Ray Wooten and sprinter hurdler Hubbard Hollingsworth. It is upon the broad shoulders of these two young men that a pantheon of young and gifted African Americans would ascend to unimagined heights of athletic and scholastic achievement. Roscoe C. Howard, Clarence G. Smith, and Ken Wibbekamp, the threesome collectively set the bar on high for a succession of Pitt athletes whose achievements were nothing short of extraordinary. As the Roaring Twenties gave way to the Great Depression in the 1930s, a track and field foursome emerged at Pitt whose achievements were fortuitous. The quartet of gifted athlete scholars included Orville Fleming, who became a doctor, and Everett Utterback, who became an attorney, and who earned recognition as two-time NCAA All-American and the first African-American to be named Pitt track captain. Art Thomas excelled as a sprinter, winning the IC4A Indoor Championship in the 60-yard dash. And then, the great John Woodruff arrived to bring sheer delight to adoring fans with his electrifying performances. His dramatic come-from-behind triumph in the 800 meters at the fabled 1936 Berlin Olympic Games captured the gold medal in a race for the 800.
Lansing passes Edwards and goes after Woodruff. For the first time in 24 years, a United States runner has won the 800-meter Olympic gold medal, and Great Britain's string of 4 successive gold medals in this event has finally been broken.
This is John Woodruff speaking. I want to say a few words about my race here this afternoon. I fought hard and won it for you all. I thank you.
Woodruff's performance, in tandem with Jesse Owens' stunning 4 gold medal exhibition at the Berlin Olympic Games, had a transformative impact on the world and helped put asunder Adolf Hitler's notions of Aryan supremacy. The attack on Pearl Harbor by Japan thrust America into the middle of the Second World War. While at Pitt, the global struggle was mirrored in the destiny and achievements of an intrepid quartet: William Curtis, William Carter, Clarence Doak, and Pittsburgh native Herb Douglas. In 1945, the war ended, and the gridiron became the next proving ground as three athletes broke the color barrier, bringing integration to infuse the fabled Panther football program with a new spirit of vitality.
In 1948, Herb Douglas of the University of Pittsburgh soared his way to a bronze medal in the broad jump at the Summer Olympics in London. But that achievement also gave him a unique status that he had earned 3 years earlier as a Panthers football player.
The most aggressive team against us during that time was Notre Dame. And the first time I put my hands on the ball, I went for a TD. And what I didn't know until here recent years that I was the only Olympic medalist to ever score against Notre Dame.
Herb Douglas, winning the bronze medal in the long jump at the 1948 London Olympic Games, partnered with Jimmy Joe Robinson, Pitt's first African-American recruit, and Alan Carter to earn their place in history.
In 1945, there were only 39 black football players in Division 1A. I'm not sure about Division 2, but there just weren't that many blacks. And, you know, the 39, Irvingham, I guess, were two of those 39.
Robinson's memorable 90-yard punt return for a touchdown against Penn State is a record that has stood the test of time. Curtis became captain of the Pitt track team in 1946. Carter captured acclaim for equaling the world's record in the 60-yard dash at the Butler Relay. Both men put their college careers on hold during the war to answer the call to serve their nation, and both achieved distinction as decorated members of the famed Tuskegee Airmen. Like Woodruff, Douglas's singular achievements as an Olympian surpassed all of his contemporaries. His other noteworthy achievements included 5 intercollegiate titles, 4 in the long jump, and 1 in the 100-yard dash. As the decade drew to its dramatic conclusion, a host of gifted athletes achieved notoriety. The precision of hurdler Clarence Doak deserves honorable mention. The 1950s brought America a new prosperity, the baby boom and rock and roll. For African-American athletes at Pitt, these were active years punctuated on the gridiron by 2 dominant players. Bobby Epps, a running back whose rushing exploits led to a successful career in the NFL with the New York Football Giants. His talented teammate, that's right, Henry Ford, became the first African-American to quarterback the Panthers and to be named co-captain. Soon after, Chester Rice and the rugged and sturdy Bobby Greer rose to prominence. Greer was the first African-American to play in the Sugar Bowl in 1956. In track and field, equally stellar achievements by Arnie Sowell were garnering widespread attention. Sowell was holder of the world indoor record in the 880-yard dash, and the world indoor record at 1,000 yards. His career achievements reached the pinnacle when he captured 4th place in the 800 meters at the 1956 Melbourne Olympic Games. Sowell shared his prominence and acclaim with a host of talented trackmen, namely Herb Carpenter, who captured the IC4A 100-yard title, Mel Barnwell, who placed 5th in the 220-yard dash in the National Collegiate Championship, and Zinaford Smith. Hurry Jones, Smitty Brown, collective efforts added luster to a widely acclaimed Pitt track program. Midway through the 50s, Pitt's first African-American basketball player, a walk-on in 1955 from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Julius McKay, thrilled fans as a scoring sensation, amassing over 1,000 career points. He was soon followed by Ben Jenkins, first African-American recruit in Pitt basketball history, while another recruit, Cal Sheffield, led Pitt scoring for 2 seasons, racking up 1,200 career points. While America stood at the threshold of one of the most turbulent and revolutionary decades in its history, the early to middle 60s was a relatively lean period, as time almost stood still for African American athletes at Pitt. In the midst of dramatic social change sweeping across the nation, Pitt football filled the void in the early 60s by adding 2 talented players to its roster. Pitt recruited running back Eric Crabtree, lineman Jim Jones. As the decade continued to unfold in a surge of turbulent change, Dave Garnett and Brian Salter rose to prominence in the late 60s. Both excelled in track and football. Salter achieved distinction as a cornerback and as an All-American high jumper and triple jumper. In 1969, Garnett captured attention by setting a kickoff return record of 220 yards in a single game, a record which still remains intact today. As the decade drew to a close, Buddy Hayden achieved distinction as the premier hurdler. He was equally gifted in the broad jump and relay race.
Hi, I'm Bob Costas. The first part of the 20th century at Pitt featured the pioneers, the barrier breakers, along with their many incredible performances. But as the 70s arrived, with the expansion in television coverage of college athletics, the University of Pittsburgh's African-American athletes began to earn greater national attention.
America embraced a new era of transformation in the wake of the turbulent 60s. And in many respects, the decades of the 70s and 80s represented a resurgence of Pitt athletics. And the arrival in 1973 of one athlete in particular was especially significant. He ranks as one of the best running backs ever, college or pro. He amassed a remarkable 6,000-plus rushing yards in his 4 seasons at Pitt. Moreover, he was responsible for carrying Pitt back to the pinnacle of collegiate football. Simply put, no one in any sport at Pitt has ever surpassed him. Tony Dorsett, the kid from Aliquippa, whose name is enshrined among the best to ever play college or pro football. 1976 marked the high tide of Dorsett's collegiate career. He led Pitt to its first undefeated national championship season in 50 years. His extraordinary performance that season brought in the Heisman Trophy and the retirement of his jersey. To this day, he remains the only player from Pitt to win the Heisman.
The Heisman Trophy is symbolic of an individual being the most outstanding collegiate player in that particular year. So as an athlete, as a competitor, you know, my thing is always to strive to be the best.
Chosen by the Dallas Cowboys as the second pick in the first round of the 1977 NFL Draft, he became one of the NFL's premier running backs for more than a decade. Dorsett holds the distinction of being the first player to win a collegiate championship and then in the ensuing year be part of a Super Bowl winning team. Honored with induction into both the collegiate and pro football halls of fame, Tony Dorsett remains the greatest player ever to wear the Pitt Panther blue and gold. The late 70s also witnessed the rise to prominence of Mark May, Outland Trophy recipient, and Hugh Green, recipient of the Maxwell Award, the Walter Camp Award, and the Lombardi Award, as well as being the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy.
Green was unquestionably the greatest defensive player in the game. Never before had size, strength, and speed been put together in such a punishing package. In 1980, Green won the Lombardi Award and finished second in the Heisman balloting. He was the heart and soul of a Panther defensive unit that would go down as the best of a generation.
May and Green had their jerseys retired, and both are members of the College Football Hall of Fame. Other players of great distinction whose career contributions carried Pitt to elite rankings include Ricky Jackson, Randy Holloway, and Gordon Jones.
105 yards so far. He whips it. He's got it. Walker, look out. He's gone.
During this era, in a city swept up in collegiate and professional championship fever, Pitt basketball also had many high points. Among the most prominent figures on the hard court during the 70s was All-American Billy Knight, the guard forward who teamed up with Kirk Bruce to lead the Panthers to the East Regional Finals in 1974. During his Pitt career, he racked up 1,700 points and was honored with the retirement of his jersey. Kirk Bruce achieved distinction by becoming the first African American to coach women's basketball at Pitt and had a highly productive 13-year tenure. Knight and Bruce were followed by Larry Harris, an extraordinary pure shooter who amassed 1,900 career points, followed by Sam Clancy, who achieved distinction as a gold medalist at the 1979 Pan American Games and then went on to become a force in the NFL for a decade. As the 70s gave way to the 80s, we saw the rise to prominence of such formidable hoop talents as Charles Smith, All-American and Big East Player of the Year. Smith played a key role in helping his U.S. teammates win the bronze medal at the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games, and then became a force in the NBA for almost a decade. Clyde Vaughn racked up 2,000 career points as Pitt's second all-time leading scorer. Curtis Aiken became Pitt's first McDonald's All-American, and Sammy Ellis and Demetrius Gore established solid credentials as Eastern 8 players. In track and field, the singular achievements of one athlete stand out, an athlete whose extraordinary performances brought Pitt global acclaim. He is among the truly great Olympians of all time. He dominated the high hurdles for nearly 2 decades. With a regal name to match his run of supremacy, Roger Kingdom came to Pitt on a football scholarship, but soon found his calling as a hurdler. He quickly established credentials as a 2-time collegiate All-American and won 3 consecutive USA track and field championships. His abundant talents then carried him to triumph as a 2-time Olympic gold medalist at the LA and Seoul Olympic Games of 1984 and 1988. He broke the world record in the 110-meter high hurdles and was inducted into the USA Track and Field Hall of Fame.
So often Kingdom comes powering through now. Jackson's hitting the hurdles. Kingdom is an emphatic winner. Jackson second place. Campbell is third, and it's 12.89. The world record has gone to Roger Kingdom. It stood on this track, set on this track by Ronaldo Neymar 8 years ago, and Kingdom has smashed it to smithereens.
Roger Kingdom, an extraordinary Olympian and one of the greatest to carry the torch for the Panther blue and gold. While Kingdom was capturing the acclaim of track fans the world over, Lee McRae delivered a string of tremendous efforts himself. He was the 3-time NCAA indoor 55 meters champion, and he equaled the world record indoors while becoming a 100-meter NCAA outdoor champion.
With him right now, but McRae keeps going. And boy, after watching the prelims where Brian Cooper got a good start and I think had Lee McRae overstriding, McRae really came back and mentally got his act together, ran almost a perfect race, much like he did last year when he set the world record here. It's a good race for both of them, but Lee McRae showed why he was so hot last year. He's been working into this year slowly, but he put it all together today.
Hurdler Eric Cannon also produced a number of solid performances. In sum total, the 70s and 80s represented the resurgence of Pitt as a dominant force in collegiate athletics. By far, it was the period that produced the most championships, the most professional athletes, and the most Olympians. It certainly was an extraordinary era of transformation, and it set the bar of excellence even higher for the next generation.
I'm Frederica Whitfield at CNN. The enactment 39 years ago of Title IX had far-reaching impact on the University of Pittsburgh and upon the American landscape. It opened the doors to a new era of opportunity for all women, and in particular, for women's sports programs. For the first time, Title IX leveled the playing field by guaranteeing women equality at all educational institutions across the nation. So it is with great pride that I introduce the pioneering African-American female athletes at the University of Pittsburgh, whose trailblazing contributions exemplify the spirit of excellence and whose achievements have left an indelible and profound impression, serving to inspire a pantheon of gifted performers to hold high the torch of the proud Panther blue and gold athletic tradition. The impact of Title IX was swift, and at Pitt it delivered to the forefront a flurry of gifted basketball players, and they were led by a talented trio whose stellar performances exceeded all expectations. Wanda Randolph's skillful efforts set the bar for offensive prowess. Her prolific efforts garnered 1,400 career points. Debbie Lewis rose to prominence as the all-time scorer, and she captured public imagination with a bounty of career achievements, 1,900 career points. Assist leader with a career 638 dishes and 250 steals. Jennifer Bruce achieved national acclaim as the first of 3 players in Pitt history to surpass 2,000 career points. Her feats of prowess on the boards snared 998 rebounds.
It meant a lot, I think, for females around the country to say that we're just as important as athletes as the men.
Having a famous mom is something that I look up to every day. Just being on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh, I think about her all the time and just what she's done and how she's been so successful here helps me to get through my day and think about how I need to be successful throughout my life and my college career here.
This pioneering threesome was followed by Lori Johnson, whose leadership and dominant court presence was characterized by her elite standing as All-American, her selection as Big East player 3 times, and as all-time leading scorer. Shavonte Zealous became the first woman drafted into the WNBA. She netted 2,200 career points and was named an All-American while earning selection as an All-Big East player 3 times.
On the corner, Shavonte Zealous, she'll let it fly from the corner. It's good! And 1! How about that start for the Panthers?
Mercedes Walker was named All-Big East her entire 4-year career. Twice named All-American, her prowess and leadership as the all-time leading rebounder carried the Pitt Panther women to a Sweet 16 appearance. Her 1,800 career points served as an abundant testimony to her formidable court presence. Xenia Stewart was named All-Big East players, netting 1,300 career points, and most career games played at Pitt. Finally, Mallory Wynn was named an All-Big East player and achieved distinction as an assistant coach for the Pitt women's basketball team. In track and field, 1978 marked the rise to prominence of Michelle Brisson, the first runner in a vast constellation of luminaries to achieve widespread acclaim. She was soon followed in 1980 by sprinter Renee Henderson, who won the Big East Championship in the 100 meters. With nearly a decade between them, the first sprinter to achieve global acclaim was Najuma Fletcher-Shields, who represented her native Guyana in the heptathlon at the 1992 Barcelona Olympic Games. Her accomplishments as 3-time NCAA All-American, 3-time Big East Tourney Most Outstanding Performer, and Pitt's first women's NCAA track and field champion, she captured 2 national titles. Ayn Allen represented her native St. Kitts at the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games. Shantae Earl distinguished herself as a 4-time NCAA All-American in the 800 meters. Kim Baer was a 2-time NCAA All-American in the 90s, followed by hurdler Mary Allison Williams, also a 2-time NCAA All-American. Amanda Walker was the Big East Tournament Most Outstanding Performer and an NCAA All-American in 2003. Tricia K. Smith represented her native Jamaica at the 2004 Athens Olympic Games. She is arguably the most celebrated female athlete in Pitt history. She holds 7 NCAA track and field titles in the triple jump and long jump, won 14 Big East titles, and she also captured public acclaim as a 4-time NCAA All-American.
Over to the women's triple jump as Tricia Smith tries to make it 2 national championships.
Shantae Calhoun was Big East Most Outstanding Performer in 2008. In all, Title IX opened the doors of opportunity and gave rise to the coming of age for women. Their extraordinary and enduring contributions have transformed perceptions about the boundless possibilities of human potential. Moreover, it produced a bountiful harvest of nationally and internationally acclaimed athletes, 3 Olympians, and countless All-American and Big East selections. Their efforts have inspired even greater achievements for future generations of both genders.
As the modern era of collegiate athletics continue to grow in scope and dimension, with the rise of the internet, the expansion of conferences and revenues driven by the network television coverage, 24-hour sports channels, and product endorsements, the University of Pittsburgh has remained a perennial power by consistently delivering highly competitive programs that have produced a steady stream of athletic luminaries who continue to carry the proud Pitt legacy of athletic excellence. And so the litany of luminaries representing the era of the 90s to the present day brings us to this juncture along the century-long trailblazing road to glory, an era that has been exemplified principally by dominant performances in two sports, basketball and football. Basketball in the 90s brought to the forefront gifted players who were the personification of excellence. Brian Shorter, the All-Big East Freshman of the Year, whose illness-shortened 3-year career amassed 1,633 points, 772 rebounds, and a highly impressive 31 double-doubles. His teammate Jason Matthews added his masterful efforts by amassing 1,800 career points and concluded his career as the Big East's most accurate three-point shooter, in addition to becoming one of the most proficient free-throw shooters, sinking a string of 34 consecutive baskets. Backcourt tactician Brandon Knight's exemplary career bridged the closing chapter of the 20th century into a joyous inauguration, celebrating a new chapter of a rising tide of fortune for the Pitt basketball machine in the nascent days of the 21st century. As a two-time All-American and Big East Player of the Year, Knight's stellar 4-year career concluded in 2003 by amassing 1,600 career points and capturing the Big East title in a dramatic win over Connecticut. He now serves with distinction as the Pitt Panther assistant coach. Julius Page's impressive career amassed 1,400 points, while Carl Krauser became the first Panther in school history to surpass 1,500 points, 500 rebounds, and 500 assists. He was a finalist for the Bob Cousy Award and a Naismith All-American. Krauser's exploits were soon followed by the indomitable presence of DeJuan Blair, whose impact was immediate. He led the Panthers to win the Big East and to the 4th seed of the NCAA his freshman year. And in his sophomore year, his equally prodigious leadership carried the Panthers to the 1st seed and to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament. Following his sophomore year, Blair was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs in the 2nd round of the 2009 NBA draft.
As the new decade continued to produce formidable talents, Sam Young emerged as one of the greatest power forwards in Pitt basketball history, ending his stellar collegiate career with 1,884 career points, the 4th highest ranking. Drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies in 2009, Young has carved out his niche.
During the 90s, beginning with 1994 Offensive Player of the Year Bill West, and right through to the present, Pitt football has been graced with a constellation of individual talents who have parlayed their collegiate careers into illustrious NFL careers. A veritable who's who of NFL luminaries includes lineman Reuben Brown, the famed member of the Chicago Bears; Curtis Martin, who carved a path to glory as a premier running back for the New York Jets. Martin and Brown were soon followed by premier wide receiver Antonio Bryant. He is a recipient of the Biletnikoff Award. This era was punctuated by the rise to prominence of Anthony Dorsett Jr., the gifted defensive back and namesake of the legendary Tony Dorsett. Heisman Trophy runner-up Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals ranks among the preeminent wide receivers in the NFL. His talents have earned him a selection to the Pro Bowl 4 times.
Here's Fitzgerald coming to the football, again beating the zone coverage in the strong hands. That's what you love to see as a wide receiver, in the strong hands, taken away from Hardy, the defensive back for Virginia. See, look at the strong hands. Hardy has no shot.
Midway through the new decade, Darrelle Revis rose to prominence as one of the greatest defensive backs in Pitt football history. Sports writers have paid tribute by naming any area of the field he covers as Revis Island. Foregoing his senior season, he was drafted by the New York Jets in 2007 and has carved his place as one of the most fearsome defensive backs in the NFL.
Premier running back and punt returner Lerod Stevens-Holland, drafted in 2009 by the Arizona Cardinals, adds his versatility to complement the offensive arsenal the Pitt Panther alums brings to the Cardinals. Rookie running back LaShawn McCoy, also drafted in 2009 by the Philadelphia Eagles, quickly rose to become a driving force in the NFL by setting team rushing records in his rookie year. Linebacker H.B. Blades of the Washington Redskins was named first-team All-American and Big East Defensive Player of the Year in 2006. His prowess merited first-team All-Big East acclaim over 3 consecutive seasons. The most recent talent, to grab headlines and the spotlight for his stellar performance belongs to running back Dion Lewis, whose exploits have surpassed the freshman achievements of the legendary Tony Dorsett. Honorable mention is also due to wide receivers Dietrich Gels and Lateef Grimm. On a final note, while Pitt shares a common thread of excellence with its many old and new rivals, few share the special distinction of celebrating the trailblazing contributions of African American athletes who have been at the forefront of a century of transformation change. It is upon the shoulders of Hubbard Hollingsworth and Henry Ray Wooten that a pantheon of gifted and talented generations have risen to majestically affirm a proud legacy of athletic achievement. And as President Mandela has proclaimed, sports have served over the past century to break social and cultural barriers and to unite people the world over. May this legacy serve as a touchstone to inspire the continued growth and development over the next century of the caliber of athletes and leaders whose enduring contributions shall personify the highest levels of achievement and humanitarianism. Long live the Pitt Blue and Gold torch of excellence. May it burn brightly for all eternity.